everyone. Welcome to osTEAo. That's osTEAo with a capital TEA, where osteo warriors in treatment and recent survivors spill the tea on all things osteosarcoma and cancer from the adolescent and young adult patient perspective. Please listen in on our honest and personal conversations about our osteo experiences, story. Who knows what else? We usually get off topic. This podcast discusses all aspects of the young adult cancer experience in a conversational format. Audience discretion is advised. Some of the memes we're going to be looking at today do have some, granted, blurted out language, but we'll see. Make sure you like and follow MIB Agents on social media for all the intel and hot goss.
And you want to make sure that you're saving the date and mark your calendars for Factor 2023, taking place from June 22nd to the 24th in Atlanta, Georgia. Registration is now live. Go to mibagents.org to register.
Obviously, I've been to Factor before. I unfortunately can't make it this year due to a prior engagement, but you should go and expect Warrior HQ to be packed if you're, if you're in the young adult range and adolescents. You can just go and play games. There's always arts and crafts. It's super fun. There's going to be tons of informative panels with internationally renowned experts discussing their research on osteosarcoma. There's going to be great wellness activities, and it's just going to be a great time to bond with others in the osteosarcoma community. It's so great, catching up with my MIB friends when I'm there, and it's just always a really great time, and I hope that you guys go and enjoy it. And although our outbidding osteosarcoma auction has mostly, keyword mostly, wrapped up, the following exclusive experiences will be available for extended bidding until we meet again at Factor 2023. So you have until June 22nd, I believe. Some of the options include a dinner party in your home for 8 guests prepared by award-winning chef Nathan Rich. You can ride the Daytona International Speedway in an exotic race car with an accomplished driver. Vroom, vroom. And Jessie, what else can they get?
You can get a 4-night stay in a junior suite surrounded on all sides by acres of pristine wilderness at the Enchantment Resort in Sedona, Arizona. You can also get a VIP tour of a Chapelet winery with wine tasting, a magnum of the 99-point exclusive Pritchard Hill Estate Cabernet Sauvignon, or a mixed selection of wines with a picnic lunch for 6 guests in Napa Valley, California.
Please go to mibagents.org and search for outbidding for any more information that you would like. Welcome back, everybody, and today we're going to be looking at some of my favorite cancer memes and discussing how they help other AYA cancer patients feel understood. It is Pride Month, yay! And my wonderful girlfriend Jessie is here to help rate and analyze these memes, as well as provide her perspective as a healthy significant other adjacent to the cancer community. We have been dating 5 months today, so I am very excited to do this with her, and it's just going to be a blast, and I'm so excited that you guys are here. So, Jessie, it's time for our segment. What's the tea? Literally.
What is the tea?
What is the tea?
I will tell you. The tea is actually elderberry lemon balm, immune and stress relief with ashwagandha. And it tastes delectable. Lots of depth of flavor, aromatic, just delish. Warm, cozy.
Love it. Love it. Major Slager. I am also drinking the same tea. It is slightly purple, which I think is very colorful and very fun. It smells delicious, as Jessie said, and it tastes great as well. I'm going to give it a solid 8.5 out of 10. It is caffeine free, and we are going to have a long day ahead of us because we're going to Pride in the Park to see Mariah Carey later tonight. Whoop, whoop. So I wish that there was some caffeine, so I will be awake enough for when Miss Mariah comes on stage. But yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm really excited to share these with you guys. I know a lot of us follow different meme accounts on Instagram or Twitter or wherever you ingest your social media, TikTok, etc. And I feel like it really helps bring the osteosarcoma community together, just the cancer community in general together. So I'm just going to be sharing some of my favorites today, and Jessie and I are going to review them and talk about why they're important, and hopefully along the way she'll give some of her perspective of what it's like to date someone with cancer in this age group. So obviously trauma can bring out a lot of negative things, but I like to think that it also makes me a lot funnier. I don't know if you feel the same way with your personal trauma, but I feel like humor and trauma go hand in hand, as you can see here in this wonderful image. And I just thought it was really funny. I would give this a solid 7 out of 10 just because it's so true. But it's not exactly in your face meme material. And yeah, so let's get this thing started. Okay. There we go. All right. It's just being a little temperamental, but we got there. All right. So it says nobody, and it's Bad Bunny talking to Kendall Jenner. It says saying chemo is poison. It's all a big pharma conspiracy. All you need to do is start juicing kale, turmeric, and yoga cures cancer. Obviously, I feel like if you have cancer, if you have some sort of illness, someone out there is saying this to you, and you're just making Kendall's face. Like, you're just like, please stop. This isn't true. Like, just please, I'm begging you. And I feel like even if you don't have cancer, you've heard about people saying this.
Like, it has happened on multiple occasions, whether we're in an Uber or we're at a dinner or something.
Yes.
People will just recommend, oh, I have this miracle pill, miracle juice that, it'll save you. Yesterday we were in an Uber, and our driver, while he was very kind, was like, yeah, there's this one doctor who was actually
killed by the government,
who promoting green juice and stuff like that to cure cancer and
HIV and leukemia. Like, leukemia isn't also a cancer. It was very confusing. I'm not gonna lie. And I didn't even mention the fact that I had cancer in this Uber ride. He just kind of blurted it out, and we were like, okay. And we were in the car for 40 minutes. LA traffic. So definitely an interesting vibe. I'm gonna give this a 9 out of 10. What's your rate on this meme?
I'm gonna give it, I think, an 8 out of 10 because, again, not typical meme format, but it's so real because even though I'm not someone who has cancer, being with Mia, like, I've experienced her getting these tidbits on and on again. Like, people really are passionate about their green juice. Not to say, like, I know you love your green juice.
I love green juice. Has it cured my cancer?
I know. They told me. We just have to go back to Erewhon and try again.
Yeah, exactly. This is not sponsored by Erewhon, by the way. So again, very, very similar. I hear this all the time. It's not necessarily the worst thing to say to somebody, but a lot of people don't realize that I have cancer, that I still have it. Like, when I mention it, a lot of people think that I'm in the clear. But they'll be like, oh my God, you have cancer, but you look so good. And again, just like this meme says, my brother in Christ, I'm sick, not ugly. And it's like, I look good because I'm happy, and I have a great girlfriend and a wonderful support system full of friends and family. And I just I do skincare. I don't know. Like, I just because I'm not bald and sickly looking doesn't, and there's nothing wrong with that, obviously, if you're going through treatment. But that's not what cancer looks like. Cancer looks like anything and everything. And, there are so many treatments out there now that where you don't lose your hair. And like, there are multiple treatments I've been on where I didn't lose my hair. And people are like, I can't believe you're on chemo. I thought that means that you don't eat anything and your hair all falls out. And I'm like, yeah, some of them, but not all of them. So it's weird when people make assumptions. I'm going to give this one a solid 10 out of 10 because I just think it's really funny. I think any funny use of my brother in Christ, I think, always hits different. Not to put down religion in any way, shape, or form, but I think it's just like it's a classic meme format that's been going around for the past few months, and I think it's really funny. This is one of my favorite cancer meme accounts, The Cancer Patient. They actually made this sweatshirt it says Only Scans, which is making fun of OnlyFans, which I will not explain. And I just think it's really funny because obviously us cancer patients are always getting scans, even if you're in the clear, at least every 3 to 6 months or maybe a year getting a PET scan. And we're all just so familiar with that. And I just thought it was really funny and very, very on brand for today. So definitely follow The Cancer Patient. Again, they aren't sponsoring me. They're just a great cancer account. The other account that we're getting memes from today is called Oh, You're So Tough. And they are also on Instagram and have some great content, some serious, some memes, just really, really great content out there to help you feel more seen and understood as a cancer patient. And obviously dark humor is a great coping mechanism. I think it's much better than dark, brooding seriousness. Not that isn't important in your journey as well, but it's nice to have fun sometimes.
Yeah, I think humor is a great way to just relate to people. Like, you can resonate with this, Amy, because people to you are just like, wait, you have cancer? Out the other night,
Yeah.
Someone
Last night. We were just out last night.
just last night, people were like, wait, you still have it? And
Yeah. And I'm like,
yes.
I do. But obviously, it's hard to bring up sometimes, and you don't want to be like, oh, yeah, I'm incurable, because then that brings the vibe down, and then people don't know what to say, and it just gets a little awkward sometimes. And so, obviously, invisible disabilities are huge, and just you never know what to expect from people, and yeah, even though I look good, I do have cancer.
Reminds me of the Magic Castle.
Yes. A fun little anecdote. The Magic Castle is a very exclusive club here in LA. It's in Hollywood. And they have a very strict dress code. As our repeat viewers know, I have Rodney, who is my 15-inch limb salvage internal prosthetic in my right leg. I also have neuropathy in my feet from previous chemo, and it drives me crazy. I need really supportive shoes. Birkenstocks have become my best friend. And they're super supportive, other than, sneakers with orthotics in them, stuff like that. And we went, and both of us were dressed to the nines. So were our hosts, who are members of the club. And we were so excited to have dinner together and to see some shows. And they wouldn't let me in because I was wearing, and again, trying not to brag here, but expensive designer Birkenstocks. So it wasn't just plain old, brown Birkenstocks. They're black leather Birkenstocks, and they were classy. And they were like, it says no, no sandals on the dress code. And I was like, well, these are dressier than the sneakers I normally would have to wear. And the woman was like, well, why aren't you wearing orthotics? And I was like, well, these are classier than my orthotics. And I thought that it would fit the dress code better. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I came in, from 40 minutes away. Like, I can't just go home and get new shoes and come back, with traffic and all that jazz. And she was like, well, why don't you walk? You know what? And I said, I have bone cancer and neuropathy in my feet. I need supportive shoes.
So why don't you walk to Marshall's?
Yeah, she said, why don't you walk to the Marshalls that's, like a third of a mile from here and get flats? And I was like, did you not hear what I just said? And what's funny is I had gotten into that club before, when I was wearing, sandals, when I was bald and going through chemo, but not when I'm all dressed up and really trying to fit to the dress code and trying to have a nice night with my girlfriend and some family friends. And it was just not a great experience. And it was, but we ended up going to a great dinner somewhere else and had a lovely time.
Yes.
But you never know what to expect out there. So adhere to the dress code, I guess. Yeah. So this meme definitely 9 to 10 out of 10 territory.
I'd agree.
Yeah. All right. So this is, I'm so sorry you have to go through this, which is something that we've all heard a million times. If you're a caregiver, if you're a patient, it doesn't matter. If you're just a friend of someone who has cancer, I'm so sorry you have to go through this. It's not a bad thing to say, but it is something we get a lot. And again, we all kind of, dissociate at some point or another, and, just kind of become numb to it. And I feel like it is what it is. If I had to get a tramp stamp, it would say it is what it is. And, it's just, it'd be like that sometimes, like it is what it is. You got to deal with the cards that you're dealt. And that's how I feel at this point in my life. Again, this one's from Oh, You're So Tough, as you can see in a little watermark there. This one really, really represents the cancer experience, I feel like, and just any sort of trauma or chronic illness or disability. It's just there, and you're just like, at this point, it is what it is. I'm 4.5 years in. It'll be 5 years in September since I was diagnosed. And people are like, how do you do it? I'm just like, I don't know. It is what it is. You just got to deal with the cards that you're dealt, which I know is a total cliche, but it's what it is.
You deal with them, and I think these memes, like I said a second ago, are just like a great way to feel like you can say, yeah, I literally feel this meme, and you see yourself represented in them. And this is where I will bring in my little communication theory as a communication student at the University of Southern California. Just a little plug there. So memetics are the kind of the study of memes and the evolution of how you can have one meme and it can become remixed and people really resonate with them because, oh, you have the similar experience. Let me share this. And then through that, you can create a community through these memes and through these like fun images with little captions and tidbits. And it really, that's what promotes virality of like memes. But I think importantly to the cancer community, when you have these memes, people can be like, oh, wait, I see that. And now I can maybe somewhat start to conceptualize how people with cancer or those adjacent to the cancer community are feeling day to day through a humorous lens, you know?
And it's gotten to the point where I can send her some of them. You can send them to your cancer friends, to your caregivers, the people who are in your life who either get it or are just starting to understand it, or you want to understand how you're feeling. You can share all of these, and it's just super helpful. I'm going to give this a solid 8.5 out of 10. But the phrase "it is what it is" gets a 12 out of 10 for sure. I think that's, just undisputable in my opinion. So yeah, this is another one from Oh, You're So Tough. Cancer is like a TV show you never asked to be a part of, but you're the star anyway. I totally feel like this is true. Because suddenly you are randomly getting all this attention from your loved ones or your not so loved ones who are grief tourists, and just kind of latch on and be like, look how much I love this person who has cancer. I'm a good person. And obviously people do that for their own reasons, but yeah, it's you feel like you're getting all this sort of pitying attention. And obviously you want support, but there's a difference between feeling pitied and feeling supported. And I feel like there's a lot of guilt that comes along with a cancer diagnosis on the patient, because you're constantly having to kind of comfort others rather than having them comfort you, because they're distraught that someone that they love is going through this, and you're already potentially used to it, where you're in that kind of it is what it is phase. And then they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe you have to go through this. My grandma had cancer. And then they start crying. And then you're like, well, what am I supposed to do? And so you're just kind of suddenly the star of the TV show, and you're looking into the camera like you're on The Office, and you're like,
okay, I've become the consoler now.
This is great. And yeah, so and then you just start getting DMs from random people who are like, I have this magic pill. And you're like, no, you don't.
But you also get DMs from people being like, I saw your osTEAo like content, and it really helped me like become part of the community. And there's different parts of being part of the TV show. I think obviously has its negatives, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to control all these people. But also it allows you to connect with people and allows you to resonate, even if it's not super fun. Yay, cancer. But I think you've heard from a lot of people that have been like, I just love the way that you present yourself and just cope with, whether that's humor, happiness, spending time with your loved ones. And I think that's really impactful, and another kind of perspective on how cancer is a TV show. So it's a good show and it's a bad show at the same time.
Yeah. It's a dramedy, it's yeah. And to those of you who have reached out and have said that Camille and I's voices have really helped, it really means a lot to us, because we're not doing this to be famous. We're not doing this because we like looking at ourselves in the Zoom camera. We're doing this because we know that there are other people, other kids out there with osteosarcoma who feel lost, or just other cancers in general, and who don't know what to do. Or if you're a parent and you don't know what to say to your kid, you don't want to say the wrong thing. We're just glad that we can kind of help be that representation of what it's like to have osteosarcoma in this age group, and how we cope, and how we exist, and how we thrive, and how just we live. And I am so honored to be a part of it every single day. So even though Camille and I are kind of the stars of this podcast, that's just kind of how cancer feels in general. So I'm going to go 9 out of 10, just because I like the cute swirly graphics, and the message is great. What do you rate this one?
Yeah, I was going to say a high rating again. It's not a typical meme format, but I do love the graphic design happening and the colors. I love a good pastel.
We love a good old school TV with the dials and the antenna. It's really high quality. I really appreciate it. All right, so we've all been there. We've all been to the cancer center. Well, obviously Jessie hasn't. She's been to the hospital with me, but
she looks really good in a, what are they?
A hairnet.
Hairnet
and a
and the
hospital
grippy
gown.
socks.
Oh yeah.
She looks good in everything. So, I mean, what was I to expect? Anyways.
So obviously if you see someone your age at the cancer center, you're like, another, there is another. And you get all excited, about potentially making a new friend, because there are so few people out there who understand, the situation that you're in. And even if it's not, the most perfect understanding, obviously we all have our own relationships with our own cancer, with our own bodies. But maybe you've been on similar drugs. Maybe you have the same oncologist, and you can kind of make jokes about that and kind of bond over your shared trauma. And this is really what it's like to try and make small talk as a cancer patient. It's like, guess who's on new meds? And that could be with the nurses. That could be, at clinic. That could be with your family. It with your friends. It's sometimes hard to find relatable anecdotes that you can share. And I feel like if you're sharing this with someone who has cancer, it's like, oh, what new meds are you on? Why did you get on these new meds? And then it just starts a whole conversation, and you feel more seen and more heard. And I feel like it's very valuable to have this type of small talk. Also, it's a screen grab from what probably is my favorite show, Bob's Burgers, which I think is hysterical. So I'm going to give this one a solid 10 out of 10. I know I'm not giving any of these bad rating. I don't think that there are any bad ones that I've seen out there recently. But yeah, it is pretty difficult to make small talk sometimes. So I think that this is super duper relatable, and just a great example of how you can start a conversation with someone else in the cancer center.
Yeah, I also big fan of Bob's Burgers. Fantastic show. So I'm gonna rate this highly too. I'm gonna give it a 9 as well, because I think obviously, as you're saying, this is a really common way to just talk with other cancer patients. But I think beyond the cancer community too, whether it's mental health, whether it's other disabilities, even medication for it, it's a way to resonate with each other and be like, hey, you take this, I take this.
Exactly.
How does it affect you? What is your experience with that? As someone with, I'm gonna go on a little tidbit here, as someone with ADHD, totally different, but I don't need, but I really find help in the medication that I get prescribed. And whether you're on a stimulant or a non-stimulant, you can have very different experiences. And I tend to talk about this with some of my friends, some of the people I've met with ADHD, and it's so interesting how different people's body respond, whether that's side effects, whether that's really the results of the medication. And I think for any ailment, for any reason you're on a medication, it's really helpful to talk to people who have had that same experience, because it's scary to put a little pill that you don't know what it's going to do in your body. So
especially when you start something new and you could be like, these are the side effects. What did you have?
what did you do?
It's always really interesting to start a conversation that way, and you never know what answer you're going to get. And it just is a great way to start. Obviously, in prior episodes, I've worn my Hot Girls Take Zoloft sweatshirt. Zoloft is an antidepressant that I have been taking for the past few years. Big fan of it. Obviously, at each drug works differently for other people, but yeah, I just feel like it's funny how when when cancer and medicine become your life, it just becomes your main talking points, and I think it's really funny. So moving on to the next one, obviously cancer is a very dark topic in general. And so dark humor is kind of the fun way to get out of your head a little bit and to cope. And it's a great way to cope with trauma. I think it's one of the healthiest ways to cope with trauma. So this one is a screen grab from Adventure Time, and it's just all my jokes are cries for help, which I just think is a very dark but very funny way of explaining it. Again, this is a great one from Oh, You're So Tough. This was just a 6 out of 10. I just thought it was funny to include. Not really much to add on this one, other than obviously, as we talked about, in our coping episode, it's just great to cope with humor. I, again, feel like it's a very healthy way to continue going on. And it's a great way to make, not that you should have to, but to make your story and your experience with cancer more palatable for people who might not understand. And I feel like memes are a great way to start that. And jokes like this are also a great way to kind of bridge that gap a little bit.
Yeah. I totally agree with everything you say. And I have to say, Mia's humor, both dark and light, impeccable. Sometimes I'm like, wow, that was dark, but like to the point where I'm impressed that
You've got some in you too.
no,
You
like,
know,
for sure, dude. But some like, especially when I first started thinking, like, whoa, like she really is in touch with the humor side of like,
I try.
and I think that's really impressive, impactful, and just like a good way to go about life. If you can't laugh about it, like, what are you gonna do? You just gotta sometimes giggle it out,
Yeah.
even if it sucks.
It's that nice boost of serotonin, which we all desperately need, hence me on the Zoloft. So again, very similar meme, exactly in the same category, but love Zoolander, classic. Using dark humor to cope with cancer is just so hard right now. Just so hard right now. Like me when I'm on Lupron, so hard right now.
My space heater girlfriend.
I know. I do have hyperhidrosis and a bunch of other stuff left over from treatment where I'm just hot and just toasty all the time. So literally hot and just, fashion wise, so hot right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So dark humor, always hot. Always hot.
That's hot, as Paris would say.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. A Buckley alum.
Yes, which is where I went to my K through 12 school here in Los Angeles. Yeah. This is one of my all-time favorites that I've seen. I love the graphic. I just think it's hysterical. Cancer is the hurricane/tornado, and I am just the cow being spun around for cinematic value. We all just get wrapped up in everything that's going on in our lives, whether that be treatment, anxiety, how our loved ones are coping, how we're coping, our mental health. And sometimes you just feel like you're there in the midst of all these doctors and insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies making your decisions for you. And you were literally just being spun around and you're just like, it is what it is. I'm here now, And it's just, and sometimes you feel like, I guess in this case, the cow is the star of its own TV show.
Yes.
Being swept up.
Sharknado who?
I know. Exactly. Cownado. And you're just being swept up and displaced and just yeeted all around, for lack of a better term. And I feel like cancer just kind of sucks you out of your normal everyday life and throws you into all different directions. And so I feel like this is extremely relatable. Even though it says, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 just because it says hurricane.
I was thinking.
And obviously the visual is a tornado.
With a smile.
With a smile.
Which I have to say, tornadoes don't make me particularly happy. So
yeah, she's a Midwestern girl.
So I have experienced a tornado warning or 20.
But yeah, so she understands the impact of the cow being spun around for cinematic effect, of course. Great meme, love it. This is another one that all of us hear a lot, I'm sure, is you're so brave, you're so strong, I don't know how you do it. And how I do it is literally just me bundling up and being like you feel like you're a vibrating chihuahua, like you're literally just because obviously some days are harder than others, but treatment is just exhausting. Having to cope with the fact that you have cancer and that your loved one has cancer is exhausting. It's emotionally draining. If you're going through treatment, it's physically draining. If you're having to physically assist the person you're taking care of, it's physically draining. And you really just have to bundle up. And I know that this isn't the most PG way to describe it, but people are, when people say this to me, I'm like, I don't really understand that sentiment, because it's like, yes, I'm, not miserable all the time and I seem happy. I am happy most of the time. I have a great support system. I'm incredibly lucky and incredibly grateful. Most of the time I'm just sitting on the couch playing word games on my phone, eating Cheez-Its. So yeah, this is just kind of my vibe most of the time. And that's how I do it, is just doing whatever it takes to make yourself feel as close to comfortable in the moment, and just kind of vibing on the couch and being bundled up in a blanket if you're cold, or if you're like me, sitting directly under the air conditioning, because even though it's 68 degrees in the house, you're still just blazing hot. Yeah.
But would you like to snuggle up? It's very relaxing.
Yes. I'm gonna give this one just a 10 out of 10. I love a chihuahua on a blanket. I feel like a vibrating chihuahua when I'm anxious or I'm having a bad day. So I get it. I feel like this is a really great one. Your thoughts?
I'm also gonna rate it a 10 out of 10 because I feel like we often joke about like, wow, you're so brave. You really it's not like you chose this. It's not like, yes, I want a tumor in my tibia.
Like
And beyond, like nobody wants that. It's yeah, you're great for sticking with the treatment and coping with the humor and all the different ways that you cope healthfully. But like, you didn't choose this. You're just like, I'm just gonna vibe. I'm gonna snuggle. I'm gonna be cozy.
Exactly.
That's what we gotta do.
Exactly. And if you've ever had inpatient treatment, or even if you just had surgery or have been hospitalized overnight for any single reason, I know these nurses are just trying to do their jobs, but it's so frustrating when it's like 3 something in the morning and they're trying to take your vital signs and your weight and draw your blood. And if you don't have a central line or report like I do, I have mine right here. It's just so annoying that you have to get pricked in the middle of the night / very, very early in the morning. They ask when was the last time you took a shit. It's very true. And you just feel very delirious and you're just like, please let me sleep. There's so little rest that I get during this. And they're asking you all these questions and you're just like, what's my MRN? I don't know. And I just think it's so true when, you're going through treatment, you're just desperate for sleep anytime you can get it. And it's just when you have to get up to get weighed and all this stuff, and you're just like, oh man, I don't want to. It is like, if you haven't experienced, it's like if you're waking up for school or for work and you desperately don't want to go in and you just don't feel well and it's just too early and you're just like, no, please, that times 1,000. Because literally you're being poked and prodded and asked a bunch of questions.
And you're in a little hospital bed. It's not you're confused covias. No, you don't have your clean stuffed animals. You bring covers.
You can bring to the hospital.
Yes,
obviously.
I know you love to decorate the rooms.
Yes, I whenever I'm in the hospital, I decorate my rooms, which is very, very fun. My mom and I get very creative. We've done a bunch of themes. Usually we go with holidays. Any holiday that's nearby or adjacent to whenever I'm admitted. So we've done some St. Patrick's Day stuff. We've done like winter wonderlands. We've done we did a rodeo theme where it was just like all cowboy themed ones. We did a University of Washington theme, which is where I went to school. Go Dogs. And yeah, so it's just obviously there are ways to warm up a hospital room, but regardless, you're going to have to experience nurses coming in the middle of the night and bugging you, even though it's their job and you need to be bugged. It's still frustrating, and you will feel like Bill Hader in this image. So I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. A little graphic imagery, but still very on brand. I think it's very accurate in its portrayal. So this is my central line, which is like a port or a PICC line, or just your IV when you get up and you walk away, like you're not stuck on an IV pole and a bag of chemo. Your port is pulling for its life to keep that needle in you. And it's such an odd feeling. You get like sharp pull.
So interesting.
And you're just like, ah. And it's like, if you're drugged up and you forget and you get up to go to the bathroom and you're like, oh, I'm still connected. It's always frustrating when you have to like get up to pee in the middle of the night and you have the IV pole in the bathroom's like a few feet away. And then you have to like unplug the IV pole from the wall. And then you have to make sure your tubes aren't tangled. And then you have to stand up and then you have to walk with the pole. So say that you have stomach issues from chemo and you really, really have to go to the bathroom. That extra 30 seconds to a minute or two is excruciating. Like it's really, really difficult. So sometimes, instinctually you just get up and you're like, I gotta go. And then you feel it's like you feel that pull and you're like, oh, okay, never mind. And I guess that's why it's a central line. It keeps it keeps your meds central. It keeps it close to you. Yeah, so I'm gonna give this one a solid 8 out of 10 because it's so accurate. Even when your IV lines are long, it's just, we've all had that pull. We've all been like, oh, yep, can't do that. Forgot about that. So yeah, and I feel like it's very relatable for parents who might get annoyed if they're staying in the hospital with their kid and their kid keeps having to get up, and every time you unplug the IV pole, it makes a noise, and they're like, why are you making these unnecessary beeping noises? And it's like, because I have to. So yeah, stuff like that is very common among any inpatient time. Yeah, so I'm gonna go solid 8.5, 9 out of 10.
I'm gonna go with a 7. While I can't personally resonate with this, I really can understand the experience via the picture. So thank you for your explanation, because it really connects, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Just like your port to your IV line
Connects.
Again, this is from a cancer patient. This one's a little bit more serious. But it just helps you feel more seen and heard. And, you know, when you're first diagnosed, everyone's like, oh my God, this is crazy. I can't believe it. You're so young. Blah, 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 blah. And everyone rallies around you, you know, while you're in treatment, because that's supposed to be the hardest part. And physically, it can be the most taxing. It can be the most demanding. But then, you know, like the reality of memes, people are kind of move on, you know, like people have moved on from different meme formats over time. And sometimes it's like the newness of your diagnosis goes away and it becomes less serious to people as they adjust to it. And they can, you know, stop offering that much support while you're still recovering. And then that becomes the hardest part, because you don't have as much support as you used to. And I'm really lucky in the fact that I have great support through my friends and family, through Jessie, through MIB, through my other friends at the hospital. My entire medical team is great. I'm very grateful. But you know, it's still difficult. You know, it's like your friends are like, oh, but you're good now. Like not your close friends who really, you know, talk to you at least a few times a week, but you know, the ones who see you maybe once a month, they're like, oh, but you're good, you know, you're good now. And it's like, that's not necessarily the case. And I feel like even though this is, you know, just some hard hitting text from the cancer patient, I feel like it is a very great way to be understood. When you're someone who cares about someone with cancer, but doesn't necessarily understand what it's like to go through treatment, to stop treatment, and then to kind of just be like, wait, what? You know, it's that, you know, you go, when you get diagnosed, it's like 0 to 100. And then when you're going through treatment, you're just speeding through, and then you just hit the brakes really hard when you stop. And it's like, all right, I'll see you in 3 months. And it's like, well, now what? And then people think you're good, and suddenly you're not constantly being monitored, and you're like, I don't know what to do now. And I feel less physically support, you know, for my health, I feel less supported, and, you know, mentally and emotionally, you feel less supported. So, I mean, like, what, after reading this, it's like, can you see how that?
Oh, absolutely. Because I know in your own life, you've experienced this to at least some degree, where some people like were there, and now it's like, oh, you're doing good, you're chilling, you don't have to get a pet for a few months. Like, okay, I'm gonna
Step back.
Like,
yeah, you don't want to be overwhelmed with pitying type support versus, you know, normal support, which is just like, hi, can I bring you dinner and we can hang out and watch stupid movies, instead of just like, is there anything I can do? I will move heaven and earth. I am so distraught by your diagnosis. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really helpful if you feel like you have to do the comforting. And obviously, if you're a caregiver, you need comfort too, and you need support. And hopefully you have a great support system, and hopefully the person you're taking care of can support you. But at the end of the day, it's, you know, you shouldn't just solely rely on the person you're taking care of. And I think that can be really difficult, especially when you're a young adult or an adolescent just trying to get through this. And it's like, obviously you feel bad for your caregivers and the people who really care about you. And there's a lot of, you know, guilt associated with it. And it just becomes really difficult. And so, you know, it's great having that support, but it's still really hard.
Absolutely. I know in our relationship, something that's but is really integral to how we grow together is having this open communication, making sure I am like open to your medical and physical needs as you are for me, and making sure like, hey, I want to make sure if we're accidentally going to go on a walk, you know, are you going to be okay? Do you want me to go grab the car? Not in a pitying way, I'm going to baby you, but let me just be like, hey, I'm going to be here for you.
Is your leg going to be okay?
Yeah.
Are your feet going to be okay? I know you had an ablation a little while ago, Do you feel like you can handle it?
Hmm.
Does your respiratory feel like you can support yourself with an elevated heart rate? And if you're walking, a little bit uphill, can you handle that right now? It's open communication versus pitying, and it's extremely, extremely helpful. And I'm very lucky to have someone who is as willing to understand as Jessie, and she's the best. And I'm so glad that I get to share her with you guys today. So kind of on the same theme, cancer is never over. Um, Cancer is just never over, period. Cancer is never over. It says it 3 times and it deserves repeating. Um, because people are just like, oh, get over it. It was a while ago. No, you're never out of it. I mean, I know I'm still in it, but there are periods where I thought I wasn't. There are periods where I thought that I was in remission. And people are just like, oh, so you're good now, so we can do XYZ. And I'm like, no, actually, I'm still really tired. I still have this, prosthetic in my leg. I still have, limitations. My immune system's still, a little bit shot. I can't like Jessie loves going to concerts, and it makes me sad because I can't be there with her to enjoy those moments sometimes if it's like standing room only. And, which is, it's society's, it's that places are less catering towards people with disabilities and not her, obviously, because I want her to enjoy all the fun things that she loves. And I want to share that with her. And so it can just, get frustrating when people are like, oh, just get over it. And it's like, you can't, it's going to be a part of your life forever. It's going to be an integral part of your life.
Totally. And I think,
yeah.
I think instead of saying like, oh, your kid's over, you're all good now, it's like, no, you're not. You still have to find ways to adapt. And like similar to the concerts, like we're going to see osTEAo, however you pronounce it, in November, and we got seats because that's going to be
the best way for us to enjoy it together.
And like that's what we want to do. We want to do that together, and I want to make sure I'm accommodating for her just as she is for me with my needs and for her needs. Like I know your cancer isn't over. I know you're still in it, even though I didn't know you at like
my
peak chemo, bald, like sepsis, all that. Like I know that is part of you, and I want to make sure that you're always feeling safe, seen, and can really enjoy the stuff that we do together, whether it's a concert, whether it's a picnic, whether it's whatever it is. The cancer is never over, and I know this. And I think both of us, we were talking about this last night, is sometimes we kind of just compartmentalize it and we forget. I'm like, oh my God, wait, my girlfriend like does have cancer. And even for yourself, you're like, wait, I stood up, I forgot I have a prosthetic in my leg.
Yeah. Like I'll forget about Rodney until he gives out on me, and I'm like, oh, yep, that's he's there, that's there. So yeah, it's always going to be jarring. You're always going to have those moments where you think you're back to a new normal, and then you kind of get shot back into reality. You get sucked back up into that tornado, and you're feeling like that cow again, that's being spun around with cinematic effects. And Jessie is a huge Katy Perry fan and always has been. And there's a song that she came out with, I believe, a couple years ago called "It's Never Really Over." And then basically the chorus is like, just because it's over doesn't mean it's really over. And if you think it over,
then you'll be coming over again, and I'll get over you all over again.
Yeah. Yes. And she keeps saying, I guess it's never really over. And it's one of the songs that I would, kind of labeled as one of my cancer songs, because get Fight Song and Brave out of here. Like, get those out of here. Like, cliche, overdone. No, I want something new, fresh, and exciting. And the Katy Perry guess it's never really over song really kind of hits the nail on the head with this. And yeah, I mean, I'm just so glad that I found someone who understands kind of what I'm going through to some extent. And I feel like memes are a great way.
Mm-hmm.
We bonded throughout.
Oh, absolutely.
Cancer or otherwise. And I feel like it just makes you more seen and more heard kind of in your experience, and it helps kind of bridge the gap of understanding, and it lets people really see more into your psyche, how you cope, how you handle it. And I feel like it's just a great way to see how you can best support someone, is just by making them laugh in their time of need. And I feel like that's what these memes do, and that's sharing them with your cancer friends, your caregivers, or whoever will help them understand and will make them feel more seen and heard, and just really be helpful mentally. You can joke around with the staff at the hospital. it just makes everything a little bit more lighthearted and more livable and doable, in my opinion.
Yes, we love a meme in all the contexts, whether
Yes.
it's to laugh, to cry, to relate to. They just make you feel like seen. You don't know who created it, where it came from.
Yeah.
Like, wow, there's an image that I can resonate with, and it's
Mhm.
kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like, it's just really powerful. And even whether, like you're saying, whether they're cancer related or not, like that's how kind of we grew together at the beginning of our relationship, is kind of sending me back and forth. And once we got more comfortable with each other, like she'd said a cancer and send a cancer joke, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I see the dark humor happening, and like slowly building up to like, now it's like, okay, girl's got some humor. She got some dark humor. I love it. So I really recommend following these pages. Oh, You're So Tough. And what's the other
The
one?
cancer patient.
Cancer
There
patient.
are some other great meme pages out there that have to do with cancer or just chronic illnesses. Please go out and find them. Please support the creators however you can. There are just so many great things out there. Like on TikTok, it's harder to share video through presentation formats. So I didn't add any TikToks or Reels from Instagram or anything like that, but there are things out there that you can find. Please go out there and find them, support those creators, and remember that you are not alone through all of this. Even if you feel like you are, there are people out there who have at least some semblance of an understanding of what you're going through. And just find ways to make it a little lighthearted, if not every day, at least a few times a week. So yeah, I feel like that's our little meme review. Thank you so much for joining us today and being with us. And thank you for having Jessie join us today. Hopefully she'll be on for other episodes at some point down the line. Camille will be back for the next episode, and I am just so excited to be a part of osTEAo and to be just a part of the cancer community, the AOA cancer community. It's just truly an honor. You guys are great. And I will see you guys next month for our next episode of osTEAo. And until then, stay funky fresh. Make sure you're staying hydrated and have fun. Until next time. Bye, guys.